Ben, are you again in the server? Okay.
User left your channel.
No problem, and thank you again. And we are back live
User
to
joined your
everybody at
channel.
home. We were having some, or our director Ben was having some difficulties, but now everything is fixed, so we can move on with the race. Race that promises some exciting turns of events because Richard Coxon, he gave up his seat for the season, and he's now, for this race at least only, at the wheel of the Lotus 79 because Didier Conjot, he couldn't make it. So the Lotus was free, and Richard decided to jump on it and maybe give some, some competition to Greg. What do you think this will pan out, Alberto?
I think we all know Richard quite well. He's a very quick driver, and well, with the Lotus 79, he has already gotten the pole, and he will be for sure a contender for the win here.
That's true. The fight for the pole was fierce, though. Gerard and Richard traded places there until Richard was able to secure pole by 600ths of a second. So at least in qualifying trim, they are very evenly matched. Let's see how that corresponds to the race. The drivers are already lined up, ready to start the warm-up lap. So we will have our usual grid rundown now. On pole position, driving the Lotus 79 for this race is Richard Coxon. In second place, the other Lotus 79 of Gerard Rion. Third is Greg Arguassin. He must feel strange not starting pole for a change. Fourth is Dan Assurer in the Privateer Lotus. Fifth, we have Jan Kowalski in the Tyrrell. Sixth, Jan Tits in the Wolf. Seventh, Vincent Beretta in the other Shadow. Eighth, we have Davy Jakes in the Tyrrell. Ninth, Petra Lavak with the Williams. 10th, Ray Riddell in the Cooper Stuker. 11th, Mick Chapman in the Arrows. 12th, Martin Lucina, the Renault driver for this race. More on that later. 13, Jakob Fredriksson in the ATS. 14, Michał Janak with the Surtees. 15, Francois Remen in the Ferrari. 16, Jason White with the best of the Brabham. 17, Juha Boss with the Wolf. 18, Jonathan Nassequint with the McLaren M26. 19, Simon Watman with the other Brabham. 20th, Miroslav Hlavik in the Ligier. 21st, Konstantin Zubov in the Arrows, that's how you say it. 22nd, Emmanuel Haas in the Surtees. 23rd, Michael Drechler in the Martini. 24th, Mark Forkin in the other Ferrari. 25th, Claudio Augusto in the Merzario. And 26th, Robert Melo in the other ATS. This is the grid for you. And indeed, we have Martin Lucina, this time with the Renault. Do you think the power of the Renault will help him here, Alberto?
Well, it certainly should. If the power doesn't help, then the chassis, which is not quite good, certainly will not. Martin Lucina has jumped into the Renault for the rest of the season. It was a vacant car, and I'm glad to see it again in the grid. The car that you know I like especially. I have an inclination for turbocharged cars and for revolutionary cars. And this year, the Lotus 79 with the ground effects and the Renault with the turbocharging were certainly the most innovative in the field. Different results of both of them, but in the case of the Renault, it was also the announcement of an era that was about to come.
Indeed, and this was the type of track that everybody expected, even back then, that the Renault would do good in. The drivers are now coming to the stadium section. Soon they will be lining up for the grid, and we will have the start of this race.
The key in this race, I think, will be tire management, because as we have seen, the Lotus are very quick here. You already mentioned it's somehow strange not to see Greg Wasson in the pole position, but it's not just because Richard Coxon is here. It's also because the Lotus is quicker, and that's the reason we have seen Gerard Rion slip in front of Greg also here. The key is, like I said, what will happen towards the end of the race, because the extra grip from the Lotus 79 means that, well, basically the tires are going to take a very hard beating in those cars. And we all know that the best guy managing the tires towards the end of the race is Greg Wassan.
That's true. The drivers are lining up now. Only the last few grids remaining. The usual tense moments. Gerard is not the best starter here. Let's see what happens this time.
Greg has his car wisely pointed to the gap between number 1 and 2, as you can see.
And we are racing. Richard has a good... Ooh, he lets his tire squeal and Greg jumps into the lead. Gerard once again started very, very poorly and he got damaged because one of the Tyrrells, I believe, hit him from the back.
That's right. He got that hit because he came out so slow from the start.
It was JV Jakes who immediately retired. I guess the damage was very, very bad in his car. So now we have Greg Wassan leading, but he's under attack from Jan Kowalski, and Jan Kowalski goes through. Jan Kowalski is now in the lead. Will Greg respond? Not here. He doesn't have the room, so Jan Kowalski is leading the race with a Tyrrell. Ooh, but he came out badly of that corner. Oh no, he's still in the lead. He's taking defensive lines here, trying to keep Greg behind him. Let's see what happens in the Ost curve. Meanwhile, Richard is in third, looking at all this. Oh, Greg jumps to the inside and he goes through. Jan Kowalski, he ran wide, and he lost 3 places here. He went from first to fourth, and that's a disaster for him.
That's a very difficult curve because you lack any reference. The grass looks almost the same, and missing the entry point, but just a millimeter can mean that you end in the grass, and that's what happened to him. So we have a first retirement. That's the other Tyrrell. David Jack seems to have gotten some damage. Maybe
Gerard
it was a collision.
I'm sorry, Gerard Rion was trying to go back to the pits. He spun and he was hit by Mick Chapman, and I guess that's the retirement of both of them.
Yes, he had a damaged car already. It was a very unfortunate incident, but between the smoke of the start and the slow start he got, well, things like this happen.
Meanwhile,
so we have Greg Wassan in the lead.
Yes, Jan Kowalski is going backwards. He's already 7th, and Jan Tits is now under attack from Petr Lavak. And behind these two is Jakob Fredriksson, who did a fantastic start.
He certainly did. Right, Riddle also did one of his quiet but effective starts, and he is now in 9th position. Anna Shure instead went backwards from her very good 4th position.
Now let's go to Jan Tits, because Jan Tits is being attacked by Petr Lavak. This is the fight for 3rd place. I think Petr is faster down the straights, but Jan is covering every space. Meanwhile,
Jan is certainly making very good use of that car.
Indeed he is. Jan Kowalski recovered to 5th at this point. I guess he had to calm down a bit from losing the lead. And speaking of the lead, Richard Coxon is now attacking the lead, and he went through. Ooh, Richard Coxon overtook Greg Wassan. He defended the place on the outside. But now Gregor Wassan is attacking him.
And they're coming to the stadium section. And this is a place where I would say Greg will shine. His abilities will be shown here.
So he's trying on the inside now.
Ooh, I can tell you that few people except Greg Wassan would have saved that one.
His car is looking very, very twitchy indeed. I guess he's giving everything he's got. Ooh, maybe a bit too much. He's almost under the car of Richard there. Richard is holding the lead. It's not easy to overtake in the stadium section. And Richard will complete this lap in the lead. Now let's see what happened on the long straight, because anything can happen here. Meanwhile, just to report that Jan Kowalski, someone hit him because he lost his rear wing. He's going to the pits for repairs. But this is a disaster for him.
Yes, this basically has smashed his chances of doing a good result here. And it's a pity because he had the rhythm.
That's true. Well, he started this race leading, so everything went very wrong for him indeed after that point.
Meanwhile, Dana Schurer has disposed of Vincent Beretta, moved forward, and she's now back in sixth position. While Ray Riddle is following closely Vincent Beretta and now making his move.
Yeah, Ray Riddle is attacking Vincent Beretta and he overtook Vincent. So Ray moves to 8th. It's interesting that my live timing is not giving me the position yet, but Ray Riddle is 7th. Oh, now it is. Ray Riddle is 7th and Vincent is down to 8th. So the top. Oh, Jakob Fredriksson. Jakob Fredriksson is out. He crashed. Oh, indeed. His car lost all sorts of parts, and I guess he's out of the race. I don't know how that happened, but I think he was more or less on his own. So that was an unfortunate incident for him, and he's out of the race. The race claiming already a few victims so early.
Yes, he came out of the turn and he basically touched the grass, and the car started uncontrollably spinning against the wall.
Well, that's everything we don't want to happen when we are driving a racing car. So the top 10 for now, it's Richard Coxon leading, Gregor Wassin is 2nd, Jan Tits is 3rd, Petr Lavak is 4th, Dana Schurer is 5th, Ray Riddle is 6th now, Vincent Brett is 7th, Francois Remen is in 8th, Simon Watman is in 9th, and Jason White in 10th. So the Brabham boys using all the power of the Alpha engine here to good advantage.
Indeed, some good result for them so far.
So now we will see. Richard Coxon seems to have something on Greg. At least he seems to be pulling away just slightly. He has a bit over a second of an advantage at this point.
I'm not sure to what extent this is Greg Wassin simply letting Richard go without any attack, because they have been with that distance 1 second for a fairly long time, since almost since Richard passed him. So that might be the safety distance that Greg is letting, so as to not get too much problems from the dirty air from Richard's car, and he is reserving himself to make his attack later. Probably Richard will try to build a bit of a gap, knowing how Greg is very quick in the final stages of the races on worn tires. So this is going to be a very strategic situation we must follow.
Oh, Vincent Beretta, he went to the grass. I believe he brushed the wall. I don't know if he has any damage, but he lost the place to Francois Remen.
Another one who seems to be very much informed today with a powerful Ferrari. Francois in 7th place. And not an easy car to handle with all that power, I must say.
Indeed, he's using that 12-cylinder Ferrari to good advantage also here. At least he's giving Vincent quite a hard time.
So as I was suspecting, Greg has closed now to within 0.6 of a second from Richard. He's just probably letting him there as long as Richard has a steady rhythm. Greg has that tactic of going forward and building a big gap to the guys who are behind. And if he sees that Richard is pulling enough of a difference from the third position, who is Jan Tits in this case, Greg won't try to fight stupidly at this moment, but will instead try to take on Richard later.
Well, it is a long race and anything can happen. And we know that the Lotus has a tendency to chew his own tires. So I guess Greg is losing nothing by just keeping the distance to Richard at this point. Meanwhile, in third, Jan Tits is driving pretty much alone at this point in the Wolf, although Petr Lavak was attacking him before. He seems to be falling behind now. And behind him is Dana Schurer. And also behind her, at more or less the same distance, is Ray Riddle. So they got a bit spread up here quickly. And Vincent Beretta, he's recovered 7th place from Francois. So we might have a fight here. Meanwhile, confirmed retirements, we have Jakob Fredriksson, Martin Lassina. He had an engine problem and he retired in the Renault. Well, that's historically accurate at least. Mick Chapman also retired, Gerard Rion, and David Jakes. Jan Kowalski, meantime, he returned to the track, although he's a lap down.
Here at the Hockenheim with these very long straights and the chicanes break your rhythm so much, is a track where the cars will quickly spread. And that's exactly what we are seeing. But you must remember that the differences that you are seeing on your screen are not exactly what you would normally expect, because visually, with the cars going that quick, visually they are very much apart. But the fact is that the differences are not different from what you see in other tracks. It's just that the big spaces caused by these huge speeds make it look otherwise.
That is a good point. Meanwhile, Claudio Augusto had a spin, and now he's trying to claw back the time he lost. He is overtaking Emmanuel Haas. This is for 5th place, and he succeeded in doing so. Let's see if he can keep ahead of
Oh, and it seems
man.
that poor Martin Lassina has broken the Renault engine.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. At least
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
historically.
You were referring to another car. I just realized it now.
Yeah, so the Renault just went out in a cloud of smoke, which is a shame because we didn't see the full potential of this car once again. But then again, that happened quite a lot in that season. Meanwhile, like you said, Gregor Augustin doesn't seem to be losing any time to Richard. Or should I say, he loses time in the fast sections, but then he gains again time in the stadium section.
Meanwhile, Vincent has been able to catch Francois Remen, and the battle is shaping up here.
Oh, let's see. Indeed, Francois is back again, leading Vincent. So these two are trading places back and forth here so early in this race. There goes Vincent again. Ooh, very close there, but Francois closed the door. And he keeps the lead for now. Let's see. Now down the long straight.
It's obvious that Vincent had not the confidence there on Francois' driving. I mean, when you have enough confidence or trust in the other driver, you can make that pass stick. But in this situation, Vincent was cautious, and I think he was absolutely right, because Francois didn't think twice about shutting the door.
It seemed to be the case, and better to fight the next day, or in this case, the next corner, than ending up the race there. I guess that's what was on Vincent's mind at that point. Now he seemed to have lost a bit of ground. Let's see if he can gain that again.
Greg Wasson has instead close in very much to Richard Coxon. Here again, they are right now through the stadium section. It seems that the last lap from Richard was not as good. And while Greg Wasson is a true clock when it comes to his lap times, they are very constant. In the case of Richard, he has been able to do one lap or two quicker than the quickest lap from Greg, but then he's not being very constant. His lap times are varying a lot, which is probably that he is not completely comfortable with the car, because otherwise they are not finding traffic yet.
Yes, let's not forget that this is the first race of Richard with this car, so I would think that he's not so used to it and probably doesn't have any setup really dialed in for it. So I guess he's
also
exploring.
The driving is very different to when you are driving a non-Grand Effect car. Remember what they say basically about these cars, that they are very difficult to get through mentally, because it's a matter of going quicker and then even quicker, because unlike what happens with the other cars, the car grips even more because of the ground effect. So you have to get your mind around lifting as you were used to in the corners, because if you go that bit quicker, in fact, it sticks. But then there is a point when it no longer sticks and everything goes completely wrong. So it's very hard to approach the limit on these cars.
Yeah, that's quite true. That's quite true. And I guess Richard, being the leader, he doesn't feel like he has to take unnecessary risks, at least at this point. We are having a fight between 14th and 15th. Michael Drechler and Konstantin Zubov are fighting. Michael is driving the Martini, while Konstantin is driving the Arrows. And, well, he's trying to keep Konstantin behind him, but I don't know if he will be able to do it for long. The Arrows seems to be the car to have between these two.
Yes, the Arrows is a ground effect car. We have been seeing this season what Philippe Martinelli was able to do with it. So it's a quick car. And Konstantin Zubov, who is not a regular of this kind of cars, he has been more regular in touring car series, has shown that he is a quick driver there with the touring cars. So maybe it's just a matter of time till he gets completely comfortable in the car. And I would expect him to speed up progressively as the race goes forward.
Yes, it's always difficult to get used to a car like this, but I guess a race has enough laps for you to at least get a bit more used to at the end of the race. And we can see that Emmanuel Haas is actually gaining on these two, and he's getting very close now. Emmanuel, who's this time driving the Surtees, which seems to be a decent package, at least for him. He's having his performances improved, at least at the wheel of this car. Yet another lap completed, and there they go down the long straight. Konstantin seems to be a bit too far to try something here at the first chicane.
And Richard Coxon seems to have found his mojo with Lotus, because he has put 3 seconds between Greg Wasset and him.
So I guess the learning period is over, and Richard is imposing his rhythm now. Well, it is very different for Greg to be in the position of a pursuer instead of being the one pursued. And now it's up to him to try to keep up or try to do something in relation to Richard, or we will have basically the same that we had the other races, but this time with a different character and a different car.
Meanwhile, Juha Boss is trying to chase down Jason White, who is doing an excellent job with the Brabham today, and he's approaching to him. Not yet able to make an overtaking move, but he's gaining lap time on him, that's for sure.
Juha, who is driving here the older version of the Wolf, painted with a very different paint scheme, as we can see from Theodore Racing. And he indeed is gaining on Jason White, who is in an excellent 10th place with the Brabham. His teammate Simon Botman is right in front of him in 9th. So both Brabhams in the top 10 at this race.
And Jason has been steadily improving his lap times, because in his last 4 laps, he has been going from 1:57.7, 57.1, then 56.4, and 56 dead in this last lap. So he seems to be today really comfortable in the car.
Yes, the Brabham probably at the beginning of the race was very heavy. The engine uses more fuel than the Cosworth engines. So I expect that as the race goes on, the car to be getting quite much lighter and quite faster than it was in the beginning. Still, Juha is indeed slowly reeling him in.
Dana Schurer is instead already close on Peter Labak. Is trying to put some pressure on him. She has been doing what she usually does. She's steadily going quicker and quicker in the races. She's very constant, and also someone whose races always go from less to more.
Yes, it was a hectic beginning for her. She lost a lot of places in that start. I don't remember, but probably she was also behind Gerard, and he couldn't start. again, and he bogged down Davy Jakes and he bogged down everybody that was behind him. But now Dan is indeed catching Petr here, and this is a fight for third place.
He's already back in the fourth place where he had started. And as you say right now, chasing Petr Lavak.
Indeed, Jantic lost a place to her due to an error or being overtaken. I'm not sure, but he lost quite a bit of ground in the process. And now Dana is indeed getting really, really close to Petr, and I guess Petr will be under attack very soon indeed.
Another mention we must do is about Ray Riddle, who is again doing what he got us used to in the first part of the season. He's bringing the copper sugar to the sixth place, and there he is quietly but steadily making the best of it.
Indeed, Ray with another competent ride there with the Cooper Suker. Dana is now looking at Petr here at the stadium section, where her Lotus 78 might behave just a little bit better than Petr's car. Oh, and Vincent is out of the race. Vincent Brett is out of the race, suspension damage. And Francois
Watching the
Hockenheim
replay now, he went over the curb in one of the chicanes and lost control of the car. Then he was spun and hit the wall.
Ooh.
Well, I would say that from the very beginning, you could notice that he was not comfortable today. Be it with the car or the track, he was not happy.
Indeed, it seemed so. He never quite found a rhythm here, and he is out quite soon in this race. So that leaves Francois Hockenheim alone in seventh, at least for now. And he's quite comfortable there because the next man, Simon Watman, is very, very far behind. And speaking of distance, Dan Assurer probably made a mistake because Petr Lavak now has all of a sudden more than 3 seconds of an advantage.
Yes,
So,
watching it now, she went over a curb, managed to control the car, but there she lost a bit of the distance, yes.
So these curbs making a lot of victims here today.
Well, the cars must run very stiff, with stiff suspensions and close to the ground for better aerodynamics. So it's no wonder that they don't tolerate well the curbs here.
Meanwhile, our leader, Richard Coxon, he now has 8 seconds of an advantage over Gregor Wassin, who is falling behind quickly at this point.
But
he doesn't seem to be able
some kind of mistake, but...
Indeed, I think he wasn't so far just a lap ago.
No, just a lap ago, I think the gap was only 3 seconds. Yes, I'm watching now the latest lap time from Greg. That's a good 1:55. That's a good 5 seconds slower than his previous lap. So certainly there has been some kind of incident, and there's where he has lost 5 seconds, which is a good amount of time. Otherwise, he was doing the same lap times as Richard, at the distance of 3 seconds before this incident.
Well, Robert Melo is also confirmed retirement in the other ATS, so both ATS is out of the race, and we are down to 20 cars, which is still a hefty number. So I guess Greg has even more work now if he wants to get back to Richard. Even if Richard mismanages his tires at the end of this race, he might have an advantage that allows him to still win this race. We shall see.
Meanwhile, it's Konstantin Zubov who is closing in on Michael Drexler and putting some pressure on him.
Indeed, and something happened to Simon Watman because he is now 12, so he lost quite a few places. Jason White is now 8, Juha Boss is 9, and Jonathan Nasserquint, once again going back to front, is in 10th.
Constantine made a slight error there and lost a bit of time, which will hurt him probably right now because they are coming to the quick session and he probably had some hopes of getting the slipstream. No, he has recovered it. He will probably be able to pull a pass here.
He sure is trying.
That's a very quick card. And Michael Drexler is, well, taking the line in the middle. A very clever way of denying Constantine a good line through the corner to set up a position for the overtaking.
Well, Constantine has been hounding for him, behind him for quite a while already, but he's not able to get a gap there to be able to go through. Once again, Drexler going to the inside, protecting the inside.
Yeah, he's protecting the inside. Well, they're coming to this difficult corner, the Ostkurve. And there you see it again. That's what happens at this turn. There are no references, and it's so easy when you're going so quick to put a wheel on the grass.
Constantine sees the carrot in front of him. He's almost there, but somehow he doesn't seem to be able to find a space. I guess it doesn't help that Michał is not making any mistakes in front of him. Meanwhile, the leader, Richard Coxon, is approaching these two, so that might change a few things.
And behind Richard Coxon, Dana Schurer has turned from Pursuer to Pursued because it's Jan Titz who is now closing in on her a bit instead of her being able to follow Petar Lavak.
Indeed, it's true. Well, I guess Petr maybe sensed the danger and he put his foot down.
And Jan Kowalski just retired.
It seems so. Jan Kowalski finally retired with more damage in his car. I guess he had another accident and that was the end of his race.
So it's Jan Titz who is providing the action on the track now because he's closing into Dana.
So now we have the other way around. Jan Titz, after falling behind, is now trying to get his fourth place back. Let's see what he can do, but indeed Dana doesn't seem to be able to follow Petr and he's falling behind.
And we have another three-way battle here for 8, 9, and 10 place between Jason White, Jonathan Atherklin, and Juha Boss. The three of them are very close together. And this is going to get hot very soon.
Yes, we love three-way battle here. And Juha Boss goes a bit wide there, but he's, well, trying everything. And Jonathan is really, really on top of Jason now. So Jonathan is really coming back from the grid and through this field. Let's see where Jonathan will attack. He's very close now. Who is trying? He's going on the inside for the first corner, and he's through. Jason obviously gave him room there. Let's see if he can counterattack, but he lost quite a bit of ground already. And maybe he's a bit too far.
A safe driver. You can count on him not doing anything stupid when you're close by. And he probably thinks that if Jonathan is quicker in that section, he can later catch him with alpha power in the straights.
Well, he is getting closer. Indeed. He made a mistake there. He went. Oh no! I think his car hit. Well, obviously a big bump there, and it stopped.
Yes.
And let's hope that he doesn't have much damage there. But he lost 2 places. He's now back in 10th. Jonathan Assekont is 8th, and Juha Boss is up to 9th. That was unfortunate for him. And he might be soon under attack from Michał Janak. Although if he doesn't have any damage, he should be able to survive this and keep going.
So in the meantime, for some reason, Jan Titz has fallen a bit behind Dana. It's 2 seconds now, the gap, and that has given Dana a bit more of a free breath.
Yes, the 6th.
Watman just retired with an accident also.
Indeed, we have
it's proving to be a track with a great attrition.
17 drivers now on this race. The first 6, who are Richard Coxon, Gregor Voisin, Petr Lavak, Dana Schurer, Jan Titz, and Ray Ridal, are in a league of their own at this moment. because the next man, Francois Jimenez, is already more than or almost 30 seconds away from sixth. So Jason White, he kept going. I suppose he doesn't have any damage. And he's trying to keep the distance to Michał Janak. They are the two last drivers still on the lead lap, because Richard Coxon is storming through the field. Although Grégoire Wassin is maintaining his distance, he's still only 9 seconds away from Richard, so anything can still happen. We just passed 1/3 of this race.
Yes, Richard has started doing now some very steady laps. So he seems to have found, well, how the Lotus 79 works, which is not strange, though, because he's a great test driver, a driver of big quality, and it's no wonder that he's able to get around the car and make it work as expected.
Indeed, and he has, well, quite a bit of racecraft and ability to keep his tires alive, so we will see how you will manage the Lotus in this one.
The interesting thing is that Greg Wassin is almost doing the same lap times as Richard. The problem is the distance that he lost there in whatever the incident was, because otherwise he's going as quick as Richard, if not quicker.
Richard, who now overtook Jason White to put him a lap down. So only the 9 first drivers are still on the lead lap, below the 79, proving as dominant here today as it was in real life. Meanwhile, Jan Tits is getting close to Dan Assured now, but they have traffic between them. He's only 1.5 seconds away.
And traffic in the stadium section is not exactly the best place to find it.
Oh, yes, he wanted to overtake Emmanuel there, but... Miroslav Lavic spun the Ligia there, while Emmanuel let Jan through. Well, that was lucky for him in some way.
Indeed.
So Miroslav got it going again. Yes, the Ligia is a powerful car, but it's also a bit demanding, and he's proving a handful for him.
He has given again some distance to Dana, who is now speeding quickly on the first main straight. And, well, as an accomplished oval racer that she is, she can really navigate well through traffic. She has proven it right now because she was able to get the best of it and make the most of the traffic through this stadium section and be able to leave the problem to Jan, who was pursuing her.
Meanwhile, Claudio Augusto is a confirmed retirement, shrinking our field to 16 drivers at the moment. So indeed, Dana is keeping the distance now to Jan. It's back to 3 seconds, so she can breathe once again. While, and I'm running through the order here to see if we have anything eventful as in fights, but everybody now is keeping a bit of distance to each other. While Richard Coxon is trying to put Juha Boss a lap down, and he does.
So in this situation, since we have some peace and not many wars going on at the track, maybe we could take a look at the Drivers' Championship and have an idea of how the current situation of the race affects it or not. Because, as we said, this is the first time that Greg Wassin is not leading.
Indeed it is, but it's quite a good situation for him because Gerard, he retired and he was the only real threat in this championship. So at the moment, his second place is almost like a win. As we could see, Greg already had a seizable advantage, and if the positions stay like this, he will once again expand his lead and firmly getting one hand firmly in the championship trophy.
That this will help in the Constructors' Championship Lotus, because, well, even if Gerard is not able to score today, if Richard scores a victory, that will be noticeable.
Yes, indeed, for the Constructors' Championship, Richard is giving them a big boost here if he manages to win. And of course, Vincent having a characteristic retirement won't score points for Shadow. So at least in that championship, the fight can go on for the moment. I'm not sure, maybe you can enlighten me, if Dana's Lotus also counts points for the Lotus team?
I can tell right now. Not sure it's certainly a Lotus. It's the same car with which the official Lotus team started the season. But I can tell if, since being renamed as a Reback officially, it will count as giving points to Lotus or not.
Of course, these rebrandings are always a bit confusing. I had this night during the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year, I had a bit of, I wouldn't say an argument, but a bit of a dispute with one of the commentators on the Eurosport, on the official Facebook page, because Porsche now seems to consider 1996 and 1997 Porsche car victories, while, you know, a few years ago that wasn't the case, and that car was not a Porsche, at least initially and in concept, and actually raced as another car previously. So, you know, this is always tricky, and it can always fall into the hands of whoever wishes to either revisit history. But of course, when we have a championship like this one with clear rules, it's not so easy to get away with just filling the grid with cars of your brand and scoring points for every one of them. Greg is losing time for Richard at this point. He's now 13.5 seconds away. So either Richard is dealing better with the traffic, or he's dealing better with the tires, or he's dealing better with this track overall.
Well, Richard has been doing some very quick laps lately. He hasn't been in 150s for the last 5 laps. He is doing all of them in 149. At what point he probably pushed just to see what the car was capable of, and he did a full second quicker, 148.6.
So is it a safe bet to say that at this point Richard is controlling the pace and controlling the distance?
Well, he has a full second under his lead. However, I'm not sure what will happen towards the end of the race, because, well, the Lotus is a tire eater. And remember, we're not even 50% through the race.
That is indeed true. Only 20 of 45 laps completed. So tires can play a big role here. Ooh, and Ray Vidal, no, it's Francois. Francois is retired.
Francois Remen, yes, the Ferrari.
Francois retired, and that's unfortunate. He was in the points position, but that's no more at this point. So he will retire from 7th, and everybody behind him will gain a place. Meanwhile, Jason White and Constantine are in a big battle here, and Dan Assure is trying to lap them both. Constantine just got around Jason, and Jason had to immediately concede space to Dana. So, but now
there
Constantine,
you see how powerful the Alfa Romeo is.
with
Jason
Constantine
also did a good move there, because Constantine was trying to let Dana pass. Got probably confused
Indeed.
seeing the blue flags, because he also had to let Jantits pass, as he has done right now.
That's true. So he ended up the loser here again, and he's now back.
That was an opportunist move by Jason.
It was, but ooh, look, Konstantin is. Oh, that was too close. I guess he had to hit the brakes, and the car did a half spin on him, and he lost quite a bit of ground here. So Jason can breathe a bit. Oh, Emmanuel Haas. Oh, Emmanuel Haas just hit. He just hit Michael Drechler. He hit him. He lost his front wing, and Drechler went momentarily out of the track. Let's see if he has any damage.
He will not be a happy man right now.
Well, I guess not. He had to deal with quite a bit of confusion, even for myself, at the Milwaukee race, and now again. But he keeps going, so whatever damage he has, it's not very serious, while Emmanuel is now into the pits to try to get the new wing.
All this traffic and messing around has enabled, however, Jan Tits to get closer to Dana Schurer again. He's now within 1 second, trying to put some pressure on her.
Indeed he is, and once again he still has a car between him and Dana, but he dispenses of him now because Janak lifted off and let Jan through there. So now Richard Coxon leads, Gregor Glassin is second, Lavak third, Dana Schurer fourth, Jan Tits is fifth, and Ray Riddell into the points once again in sixth. Jonathan Asserklint is in an excellent seventh place, Juha Boss is in eighth, Michał Janak in the Surtees is ninth, and Jason White is 10th.
With Konstantin Subov again getting closer to him. Seems that he has a very good race pace, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to recover the distance that quickly. But then when he gets close to Jason, the difference between both cars start appearing to make the overtaking very difficult. We all know that Konstantin's car is a ground effect car. It's very quick in the turns, but then the alpha power in the big long straights seems to give Jason that edge that is needed to keep Konstantin behind. We can see here how Konstantin came out of the corner very quickly, but now they're going down the straight, and even with the slipstream, Konstantin, when he goes out of the slipstream, can really help the car completely making the pass. You've seen it here. He has lost all his speed when he came out of the slipstream, and now he's stuck behind Jason.
Indeed, he seems to almost hit a wall when he gets out from behind Jason here. Let's see if now... Ooh, now he's in front. I guess he has the pass now. We're approaching the Ost curve, and Jason has to let him through. So Konstantin now moved to 10th and demotes Jason to 11th place. Indeed, Konstantin seems to be with a faster race pace at this point, and I guess those Venturi tunnels under that arrows are helping him.
And his next objective is Michał Janak.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Michał Janak is not very far up the road, and Konstantin can see him already. And I guess it will be close to him in no time.
Jason is, however, not willing to lose ground, and he's following Konstantin, waiting for a new opportunity.
Yes, let's not forget that only now we reach half point of this race, so tires can still play a major role, or at least the behavior of a car changing as it goes light. Of course, Jason is having a good race for his own standards, and he doesn't want to throw a finish away at this one.
That's also the main hope of poor Jonathan Asserklint, who is always making a strategy for the long term. And again, he is in that very uncomfortable position of being 7th, just tantalizingly close to the 6th position that gives you the points, but unable to reach it.
It is true, it is the uncomfortable position that Jonathan seems to find himself quite a lot lately. He now is once again 7th, but he is very far from Ray at this point, really, really far. So he can only hope that the first 6 have a problem, or else he once again will finish just shy of points.
But Konstantin is now getting much closer to Michał Janak. And with that speed difference, I wouldn't expect Michal to be able to put much of a fight. There he has it already.
Ooh. The lag is affecting me here a bit. I apologize. So while I recover from the lag. Okay, so it seems to have stabilized now. And indeed, Konstantin is getting really, really close to the surface of Janak here.
He's putting some pressure on him already here at the stadium section.
I guess this is a part of the racetrack where Konstantin can maybe gain a bit of time to Janak.
Yes, the ground effect car gives you much more grip here without having to resort to a steeper wing angle, which is exactly what you need for this very quick track. Low angle in the wings to be able to go fast on the straights, but then enough grip in
he's going
the
now.
stadium section.
Look at him, he's going and he went through. He did the first turn really, really fast. And he put Janak right behind him. And
that was...
But everything went wrong there. Oh, and that curve really made him fly. Fortunately, he stopped.
He was very lucky to stop just centimeters away from the wall.
Indeed, just centimeters from the wall. So he can now just get back to the track. He lost the place to Michał Janak and he lost again the place to Jason. But he was very, very lucky to still be able to keep going. That was unfortunate for him. I guess he left the braking too late and the car just got away from him.
And now he has to start all over again. Sisyphus style.
Indeed, that is the fate of someone who makes a mistake like this. But Konstantin, he's doing a good race with the arrows, and I think he's enjoying himself.
It's his first race here with this car.
It's true, and as long as he's enjoying himself, that's what we want here. And speaking of enjoyment, Richard now has 16.5 seconds of an advantage over Greg. So he's keeping his pace, just inching away slowly. Let's see if that's enough at the end of the race or not.
Jan Ditz again has Dana Schurer on side, but he isn't able to get close enough to have an opportunity to overtake.
Indeed, he seems to get under 2 seconds and then he just doesn't seem to be able to close more than that, either because Dana responds or he's attacking too much and he makes a small mistake here and there, but he doesn't seem to have any effect past this point. So behind these two, the distance is very large to Ray, and again very large to Jonathan. So I guess it's safe to say at this point that if Ray Riddell doesn't make any mistake, he will be in the last points position in this race.
Jason, meanwhile, has on his sides Michał Janak and is trying to do his best to catch him.
Indeed, Jason has a motivation here to try to catch Janak, who is not very far. Of course, that powerful Alpha engine is helping him along the straights. Maybe the twitchiness of his car is not helping him so much in the stadium section, but at least he's keeping it on the track and competitively so, and that's still a top 10 position for him. Konstantin dropped quite a bit back. I mean, he can still recover this, but it will take him a while to do so. Other people running behind Konstantin, we have Drechler still in 12th with the Martini. Behind him, Mark Forken with the Ferrari. And behind him, Emmanuel Haas, who returned to the track. And the last man running is Hlavik with the Ligier still. So we have 15
Jason's
cars.
closing in on Michał Janak, and right now Ray Riddell is coming from behind to lap Jason. And, well, maybe Jason is going to make another opportunist move by following Red Ridal.
Well, he might have a chance here. He lifted off to left Ray through, and he's now trying to follow him so he can use his slipstream. So now it will be a question that when Ray catches Janak, if that makes Janak lose time, Jason might be there or close enough to profit from it.
Well, he has been lucky enough to have been lapped in this very quick section of the track, where the power of his car allows him to stay with the car in front.
Richard is really putting the hammer down at this point. The distance now to 21 seconds.
But
He
that's
made
not
a
going
sequence.
to help match his tires.
Who went for Mark Florkin? He's a retirement. His car lost. He had a crash. His car lost a rear wing and a rear tire. So that's the end of his race and the end of the Ferrari race here. Both Ferraris now out of this race. Not a good result for the Tifosi here today.
Not a car that is having much luck this season anyway.
That is true. Kind of mimicking what happened in the real thing, because they had a few good results with the Michelin radial tires, but they weren't in contention for the championship. Of course, then again, who was after Lotus introduced their revolutionary cars?
Yeah, that's true. It basically destroyed the competition, as we are seeing today in this race.
Indeed, Richard making good of the Lotus reputation and leading the race. Ooh, he now overtook Drechler, who went a bit too wide there on the airpin in the stadium section and went into the grass. Now Lavik is coming behind him, but Lavik is a lap down in relation to him, so this overtake is of no consequence.
Jantit's getting closer again to Dana Schurer, and again hitting that invisible wall that prevents him from getting somehow less than 2 seconds closer.
Yes, the 2-second wall that he keeps hitting. But of course, everything can happen quickly if Dana runs into tire trouble or makes a small mistake. And we
Well,
can
you
have
can
a fight on
certainly
our
put
hands.
pressure on another driver, even if at a distance.
It's true, and this is too close of a distance for Dana to feel safe. Now Jan is 1.5 seconds behind her after this trip around the stadium section. So I guess
He did a very quick lap 2 laps ago, and he's doing now 150 instead, which is actually quicker than Dana is doing. So it's no wonder that he has been able to close in, because in the last 2 laps, Dana was doing 151s.
So it's safe to say that Jan is giving it all, trying to catch Dana here.
More than likely, because his last laps have also not been very regular.
So that probably explains it. He's going into the limit and probably over it to try to keep up and try to catch Dana or put her under pressure. It's not easy to pressure Dana, but he might succeed. And Petr Lavak is only 5 seconds up the road in relation to Dana, so if anything happens with him too, the positions can change between these three very quickly.
1.8 seconds now between both of them, and Dana hasn't been speeding up in this last lap. She has been keeping her pace with regularity, but since Jan Titz has upped his game now, he has been able to get a bit closer.
Indeed, the distance now regularly in the 1.5 second range between the two.
And here in the stadium section, he seems to be closing much more. We already talked about the gaps being very visual in this track, because in the fast sections they look bigger than they are. The stadium section is the situation where the opposite happens. The cars come here and they seem to bunch up, whereas in fact the difference is almost the same. They're coming now to the finish line. We can see what the real difference is. It's 1.7 seconds still. 1/100th of a second closer.
The Wolf seems very twitchy for Jan there. And he's giving it all, but having a hard time making up once again. It seems to getting to at least slipstream range is so hard for him.
Meanwhile, Konstantin Zubov climbing that Sisyphus mountain again, and is now getting closer to Jason White, who, well, I think try what would be his third overtaking on Jason.
Indeed, it's becoming an habit. He's still a bit away, but at this pace he will get into the back of Jason before this race ends for sure.
At this point, Jason White will be wondering how many arrows are there in the race.
Well, that's a good point, but unfortunately this is the only one remaining. Mick Chapman retiring early. And we now have 45 laps completed, so 2/3 of this race already up. And Greg, he made up of it, of that lost time. He's now only 16 seconds away from Richard.
And we're back in the stadium section with Jan Titz and Dana Schurer, and again, Jan seems to be getting a bit closer. They're going now through the start-finish line, and we will see the difference in real time, which has reduced to 1 second and 1/100th of a second. Yes, he seems to be certainly getting closer to Dana.
I believe we
Bit
will
by
have
bit.
a fight here, at least at the end of this race. Unless, of course, Jan makes a mistake and then it's game over for him.
Before that, Konstantin will surely catch Jason, because they're in the stadium section, and Konstantin is right now close enough to try and make some move. There he is already, last turn before the start-finish line, getting very close, and he will probably try to be very close at the... No, he's going for it now.
He's going for it indeed. Again, the same place he overtook Jason last time, coming to the first corner, and he does it.
And we will see what the Brabham power does now in the straight.
Oh, yes, Jason is surely close enough to maybe try something at the end of the straight.
Yeah, but he's hesitating. He knows that anyway, Konstantin is quicker in this car, in the arrows, so probably Jason just doesn't want to get mixed in a fight that has no sense for him.
Well, he made a mistake here last time, Jason, so I guess he didn't want to repeat that. So for now, Konstantin is in front of Jason, and he's looking at Janak once again there.
And Jan Titz is certainly now looking much closer to Dana Schurer. They are again in the stadium section, again going through the last corner right now. We will see if the difference has shrunk a bit more.
Yes, a fight for fourth place, let's remember.
1 second dead, yes. 1/100th of a second per lap seems to be the difference that Jan Titz is right now able to crawl back from Dana.
It's very, very close pace, but he's getting closer and closer to that slipstream distance, and once he can slipstream Dana, then this distance will shrink very, very quickly.
Yes, but then again, with so little difference in terms of lap times, we will see this typical situation where one thing is arriving and a very different one is making the overtaking and making it stick.
Indeed, I don't think this will be an easy overtake at all, especially with such close lap times here. And I would think that Dana would not sell her fourth place cheap to Jan at this point. Meanwhile, Janak is lost already the place to Konstantin. So whatever happened here, maybe a Janak mistake, but Konstantin is already in front of Janak. So Konstantin is 9th, Michał Janak is 10th, and Jason White is 11th. Let's hope that now there's no mistake from Konstantin and he can keep up his good rhythm. He's too far away from Juha Boss at this point, so I guess 9th is what realistically he can achieve here. Let's see if the positions maintain themselves like that.
And Jan is right now under a second from Dana, coming on this chicane. And we will see what happens next time by they go to the stadium section.
Indeed, Jan is very, very close to slipstream distance now. Is inching closer to that. Now I know that Jan, or at least he seems to be very strong under brakes.
They're getting now very close to the stadium section.
Yes, they're entering the final chicane before the short straight that goes to the stadium section.
And they're
Both
coming to lapping
negotiated.
cars. We will see if this favors Dana here, who is quite masterful when going through traffic.
It has been favoring her indeed so far. They're getting ready to lap Drechler there. Ooh, misunderstanding there, and I guess Dana wanted to go to the outside maybe, but Drechler was leaving room for her on the inside. So she had to brake there for a while and maybe lost a couple of tenths there. Still not too much time, and Jan is still not exactly behind her.
Almost the same. 0.6 of a second, 100. She might have lost her.
She seems to be quite fast here down the long front straight. Look,
I would suspect that maybe her engine has a bit more juice than the one in Jan's car.
Well, it certainly seems the case because she gained quite a bit of ground there.
Or her car is better set up for the last section. Spain
Nice.
points out to me the difference when they arrive at the chicane is 1.3 seconds, which is almost double as much as they have when they get by the finish line. So I would think that probably Dana's car has less downforce for the winglets, and she's going
Ooh,
therefore
look at
quicker.
this. Indeed, that seems to be the case. And look at this. Jan got around that chicane quite a bit better. And now finally, he's on top of her. No pun intended here. Ooh, he was too optimistic there. Too optimistic,
Yes.
and he slightly touched her rear wheel. And he lost all the ground that he made there. I guess maybe he
Well,
was
he
too
knows his
eager. Or...
opportunities here or anywhere.
Indeed. Maybe Dana braked a bit earlier. Maybe he was too eager. But one thing is for sure, the distance is now once again around 1 second, 1.5 seconds.
It becomes evident that Dana has less downforce in her car. She is going for a setup that gives her quicker top speed at this part of the track, which is normally a wise choice to be able to later get rid of other cars because this is an overtaking point. While in the case of Jan, he seems to have set up the car so that he can do most of his job in the chicanes and in the stadium section. Two very different ways of getting what in the end are very similar lap times as we are seeing here.
Indeed, it seems so. Of course, Jan at this moment must be cursing himself or or something else for losing that opportunity and once again being over a second back from Dana. And he now has 11 laps to go, so he better hurry up if he still wants to make an impression. Meanwhile, Richard is still with a 15-second lead over Greg. We are now approaching the final laps, so now the tires must be starting to get really worn on them. Although I'm not sure if this track is very bad on tires with its long straights and not very few fast corners here. But one thing is for sure, it's now between these two. And meanwhile, we have not been paying attention to this, but either it is because of tire degradation or lapped cars, but Dana is only 3 seconds away, more or less, of Petr Lavak.
Yes, Peter was never really very far from them. I think the highest difference was about 5 seconds. But right now, towards the end of the race, he seems to have been losing a bit of ground, and the difference has shrunk. Maybe Dana, while trying to go quicker to keep Jan behind, has in fact, without noticing, closed in more to Peter.
It might seem the case. Dan is now approaching Miroslav Lavik in Elysia to lap him. Miroslav is the last man running of the 14 that we have still in this race. And let's see if that plays. I guess Lavik maybe will let them through. They're approaching the Oz curve now.
And this has this situation in the Oz curve with Miroslav being in front, I think has slowed down Dana a bit, and Jan Ditz has been able to close in much more. Goes now deep into the chicane. He knows he can go much deeper than Dana, and he has made a very good move there to overtake the Ligier.
Indeed, it was now or never for him. He couldn't afford to be stuck behind Lavik around that chicane, so
he's
he
looking
went
good now towards the stadium section, where he's stronger. But he knows he must be very close to Dana at the exit, or Dana will put a big difference on him.
Ooh, once again, he went too deep there.
Well, he should know by now that Dana has much setup with much less downforce, and that she's obviously using earlier braking points.
She is, and
We
she's
will like
being
to
very
see this
ginger.
again here, because they pick up some speed. Dana is already on a defending line.
She is trying to break a slipstream there.
Yes,
now to
this
be
time
all or
Jan,
nothing.
you can see how he also braked early, looking for a quick exit, knowing that Dana was about to protect the line, and it seems to have worked. He tricked Dana into making a slow exit of the turn, and he got
He's
her
going on the
slipstream.
outside. He's going on the outside of her. Let's see if he can do it. No space there. Ooh.
Dana
had no
protected very well the entry.
Indeed, he had nowhere to go. He had to concede that now he had a better exit, and once again he's attacking her. She's again on the inside of the track. He's hesitating between the inside and the outside. He decides to go to the outside finally. Around the outside in the Ost curve, and he goes
That's
through.
a great pass.
Jan Tits with
That's a great pass.
an incredible overtake in his own Grand Tour. Let's not forget this. Jan Tits moved to fourth, and Dan is again fifth. But let's not discount
This is
her
a
yet.
meritorious pass on an oval, but on a road course, it's a masterpiece.
Indeed, we weren't expecting that. Let's see if Dana has anything for him, because Dan is quite a bit faster down the straight. But now they're approaching the stadium section where she's not so good. I guess if she can keep... Ooh, Jan made a mistake there, and Dan is going on the inside. And ooh, Jan doesn't want to budge. He's still on the outside. Ooh, and I don't know if there was contact there, but Dan is still behind him. I guess Jan couldn't afford to let her through there, but she's very close now, and let's see if she can do something down the straight.
Yeah, that's what you get for making an error when Dana is close by. You will always be ready there to benefit from it. This time, since Dana was behind, she didn't fall into the trap. and Jan Dietz made that good exit from the corner. So she's able to stick at the slipstream with him. And probably, as we are seeing right now, even try to make a move.
Yes, she's going on the outside. Let's see if she can do it. Whoa, she braked very, very late and she passes Jan Dietz around the outside.
We talked about a masterful maneuver from Jan Dietz, but this one is not shy of it.
Oh, and Jan made a
overtaking.
mistake. Jan left his own braking a bit too late. He ran over one of those treacherous curves there, and he lost all the ground once again. So Dana did not give up, and Jan is back into fourth place.
What a battle these two are giving us today. These last overtaking maneuvers, I would rate them as probably two of the best, if not the best, we have seen in this season already.
Indeed, this was masterful maneuvers here we had today. Two very good drivers, two very good cars, and two very, very determined race drivers here.
Well, if Jan thought that he could impress Dana with his overtaking maneuver on the exit, now he has the answer.
I guess he does, and he has to do it all over again, and we are only 7 laps away from the finish, so he's running a bit out of time. But look, around the stadium, he seems to gain quite a bit of ground. Maybe Dana's tires are not as good as they used to be, and Jan is once again very, very close to her. Ooh, so close that he might try something already. Dan is going on inside, protecting the inside line. So Jan goes to the outside once again, and he tries to get that perfect. And he does it. He's alongside Dan already. But now it's a drag race up to the first chicane, and I guess we all know who's going to win that one. So Jan is forced to pull up again, try to get the slipstream. He's now again trying to pass around the outside. Ooh, and Dana breaks very late and shuts the door there once again. So we have the same situation we had earlier. So let's see if Jan can do something once again around the Oscar. Dan is going on the inside. And Jan gets really, really close to her. Look at this. He's now onto the back of her to the point that he has to move to the outside. But she's faster once again down this straight, and she has the inside line for the chicane. She's covering the space here.
You can see how now Jan has got a measure of what braking Dana does, because Jan is a great driver again. He learned very quickly the reference points from Dana, and you see how they don't have touch anymore on the braking, even if they have been fighting it.
Indeed, it seems so. No more contact since that first time. Now we're back to the stadium again. Jan fall a bit behind there on the straight, but I guess he will get his time back and his distance back once again around the stadium here. Dana's car looking a bit twitchy coming out of the airpin there. So once again, Jan is trying to line up a move here, but he's a bit far away this time. Let's see if he can have another perfect exit from turn 1. Wasn't bad, but he's a bit far now, and if he will lose the slipstream, Dana will just pull away enough from him to stay in front until the first chicane.
And meanwhile, Jason White is about to overtake Michel Janak. He has been finally able to catch him. He's close now and looking for the opportunity to get by.
Yes, Janak is 9th, and meanwhile, Konstantin Zubov is on the grass, and you lost again both of those places to Janak and White.
So we got two very interesting fights now at the track. Jan Dietz is doing it again on the outside.
He's doing it on the outside of the Ost curve, and he does it. He does it once again, but Dan is really, really close now, and I believe she will try once again to get the move around the outside of Titz. She's trying, she's there. We're approaching the braking zone. She brakes really, really late. Ooh, Jan tries to maybe fend her off. He succeeds, but he compromised his exits, and now Dan is getting close to him once again. But it's too short of a straight until the break to the stadium section. Although she's trying on the outside, and she's going for it. She's going for it. But there's no space there. Jan Titz holds the position. And now we have the stadium section where Dana wasn't so strong. So let's see if Jan can pull away a bit to be safe. He does, coming out of the tight hairpin there.
What a battle we have today. It was absolutely worth to stay the whole race here just to see this.
Ooh, Jan
Probably
seems to
the
have,
best duel we have had in all the season.
for sure, one of the best. Jan seems to have now enough of a distance to be on the safe side. Ooh, he got very twitchy there on the exit. But I don't know if Dana can get all the space between her and Tits back just on this straight alone. Well, she's getting it closer. She got a bit closer, but not enough. She braked very, very late there. And I guess it will be difficult now because Jan Tits probably is faster around the S-curve, as we've seen. And she has only now in between the next chicane to maybe claw back a bit of time.
Yes, but you can't ignore that the slipstream is helping her right now. This fast section. She's crawling back quicker than she would be normally because of the slipstream, which is the reason why she has been able to close in much more. There you have it.
They're once again coming to the stadium section. The gap between the two is half a second. Dana using all the road there and then some. But this is the area, I believe, where she loses most of the ground.
Yes, but not enough for Jan to be able to shake Dana off the slipstream when they come to the quick section. And in this situation, Dana normally has already the quickest car in the fast section, but when the slipstream is in front of her, it's almost impossible to shake her off.
Indeed,
She's
Jan
making
Tits,
right now the cleanest exit possible, and she will now be going right behind to make the most of the slipstream and try to arrive at the chicane in the best position possible.
yeah, she's gaining time again. As when they crossed the line, it was almost a second of advantage that Jan had, but look at this. Now it's definitely a lot closer than that.
10
But
points
still-
to me. She lost around 0.3 of a second in the stadium, but she gets a lot of it back the straight.
Still, she doesn't seem to be able to get around these chicanes as fast as Tits,
So,
at least at the
meanwhile,
moment.
Jason White has been able to pass Michal Janak.
Oh, well, that's true. We have too much action to follow here. But indeed, Jason White is now 9th, and Janak is back to 10th. So White making the most of the engine here in his car, and his own ability to stay in the race. And he's been in upwards form lately. I mean, he wasn't the best finisher in the past, but his last few races have been very consistent and very good. And he's once again looking good to the end of this race.
He probably just got used to the peculiarities of the Brabham. I would expect that car to be also fast at Monza.
Meanwhile, Dan is still with Tits in her sights. She's a bit closer now, I would say. She's definitely close enough to maybe try to
It has to
do a
be because
slipstream
there's
run.
only 3 laps left.
It's true, if Dana wants to get her place back, she better hurry, and she's very close now. I guess she will try something. Look, she's getting very, very close. She's going for the outside.
This time she did the stadium much quicker, as Ben points out to me.
Yes, and ooh, she immediately moves to cover the inside, and she's through. She's back into 4th place.
Yes, he is.
Now, she's covering the line there for Tits, and I guess she will move to the inside once again of the S-curve. Try to force Tits to go the outside route once again. And indeed he does. Oh, but she covered the space there, and he had to lift off, and she covers the inside once again. So there's nowhere for Tits to put his car. So now he will try a run on the outside for the next chicane, but Dana's car is faster down the straight. So he moves back inside again. She protects the line, and she maintains the position for the chicane.
She's actually placing the car in the middle of the road. Not that she's protecting one line, but two.
Indeed, she's making Jan's life very hard here. Now they're getting back to the stadium section. She's again in the middle of the road. Jan is trying on the outside. It's not going to work there. Now they're coming to the hairpin here. Jan's rear sliding a bit there, but he keeps it under control, and he's hounding Dana now. But it's impossible to pass around here, and let's see down the straight. He's definitely close. And Dana's already moving to the inside. Now again in the first corner, and Jan has to get really close to her, and he does, and he immediately moves to the outside to try to out-drag her, but that's not going to work, and he moves again to the slipstream.
And they're coming now to traffic, which will be a very hairy situation in these chicanes.
Ooh, Jan is trying to overtake her on the outside on the brake. But she brakes really late once again. She covers the line, and Jan has to follow her. Ooh, he almost touched her there.
Well, he's willing to set up for the Oscar because he has done it twice there, but this time there's traffic, and this time Dana knows what to do in this situation to cover the line.
Indeed, she's covering it once again. Plavik meanwhile retired to Beligia, but we don't have time for that. And they're moving around Janak. Janak just causes no trouble at all there.
Nope, but at the same time she helped Dana a lot.
She's on the inside. He's on the inside, he braked really late there. So late that he made a mistake.
Actually.
And that's, I believe, he hit one of the pylons there. I don't think that damages his car, but this certainly damaged his hopes of getting the fourth place from Dana. And well, I guess we can say with a certain degree of assurance that Dana won this one, and she
really deserved it.
Well, she did everything humanly possible.
Any of both could have deserved it. It was an amazing fight.
Indeed. Shame it ended, but it had to end some way. And it ended right at the moment that we can focus on the leader, Richard Coxon. He's now only one lap, a little bit more than one lap away from winning this race. He has almost 12 seconds of an advantage over Greg, so I guess Richard kept his tires going, kept his distance, and it will be a victory for Lotus and a victory for Richard here at the German Grand Prix. So the top 10 at the moment is Richard Coxon, Gregor Guassin, Petr Lavak, Dan Assurer and Jan Titz, Ray Ridal in the last points position, Jonathan Nasserklint once again unlucky 7th, Juha Boss is 8th, Jason White is 9th, and Michał Janak is 10th.
So Richard Coxon got his victory already. Greg Wasson is right now coming also to collect a well-deserved second place. Petr Lapak will round the podium.
Indeed. We're still waiting for Petr to finish, but Richard and Greg already finished the race. Ray Ridal already crossed the line. So these positions that I just gave you are the final positions of the top 10. Then in 11th, we still have Michael Drechler, 12th, Emmanuel Haas, and 13th, Konstantin Zubov, which will be now the final finisher because Plavik retired, like I said earlier. So 13 drivers finishing this race, a really hard race. Maybe harder than they
Jonathan
expected.
again close, but not able to reach the point positions. And for Jason White instead, a very nice top 10 finish.
Indeed, poor Jonathan once again not being able to crack into the points. And Jason crosses the line now, 9th position in the race finish for the Brabham. And I guess the drivers are not able to contain their excitement there at the end. Juha Boss, that was a good debut here. nice 8th place with the Wolf here. And of course, always the nice addition of Emmanuel Haas to the grid. He finishes just now 12th with the Surtees. And we are still waiting for poor Jonathan to cross the line, and Constantine. Constantine, I believe he went to the pits for repairs right at the end of the race. But still, I guess it was a fun race, or at least an eventful race for him. And he's now finishing. Jonathan already crossed the line. And that's it. So this was a German Grand Prix, an eventful race. Fortunately, nice, fantastic battle even. And we had another winner for a change. This was a very, very good race from Richard there. Greg this time had nothing for him, but sure did a good operation for the championship because he's now even more of a leader of it. So this is all from me. Thank you once again, Alberto, for coming to commentate here with me with your expertise. Thanks again to our director, Ben, and his amazing camera work. I hope you could all see it at home. So for me and everyone, bye-bye for now.
Thank you, guys. See you all in the next race.